Hi everyone. Today we're going to make yarn wrapped Christmas ornaments. So to make this craft, you'll need a few different items. First, you'll need some yarn. I used red because that's what color I'd like to put on my tree, but whatever color you have at home, I'm sure will be fine. You'll also need some scissors, a plastic fork, a bowl or plate, and lots of white glue. And you'll need a balloon. You might also want to consider using a measuring tape just so you have an idea of how long the yarn will be each time. So let's get started with this. First, we're going to cut our pieces of yarn. I'm going to cut mine to be about 30 inches, so I've already measured my first one, and I'm just going to use this as a guide to cut the next few. So I'm going to line up my ends, go all the way down, and cut them. Now you don't want the string to be too much longer than that, because if it is, it'll get all tangled up in the glue and then it won't look as pretty when you're making your ornament. So I'll just cut a few here. I've already got a few going. So you'll cut about maybe 20 pieces or so. You can always see if you'd like to add more. If you think by the end of it there are a few gaps still left on your ball, you can cut more too, totally up to you. So there is my string. Next, we need to blow up our balloon. So you don't want it to be too big, but you don't want it to be too small. If it gets too big, that's a lot of yarn to wrap, and then it looks like a really, really big Christmas ornament, which if that's what you want, hey, that works too. And if it's too small, it gets a little bit pointy. So I've made mine about this size. You can see based on my hand how big it is. And it's roughly the size of an ornament. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? And it doesn't matter what color balloon you use either, because we'll be cutting that out at the end. So we are going to get started with the yarn. I would suggest hanging a piece of string from something. A kitchen cupboard works really well, just so that when you are putting the yarn on the balloon, it's not getting caught up in anything. So I've just got mine here hanging from a book cart because I don't have any kitchen cupboards here. And I'm going to tie the one piece of yarn to the balloon so that it's kind of hanging in the air. So let's do that. And I would also suggest putting some paper towel or something underneath just so it's not dripping on, in my case, the book cart, but in your case, maybe the kitchen floor. So I've got my paper towel, and I'm just gonna put that underneath. Now we'll want to put the white glue on a plate or in a bowl, and we're going to be dipping our pieces of string into that. We're gonna get a little bit messy. There's gonna be a little bit of glue on your hands, but that's okay, it'll come right off. So all I'm going to do is put the string in the glue, and I'm going to use my fork to kind of smush it around a little bit. And the fork actually works really well to get some of the excess glue off at the end too, just so there's not too much glue going on your balloon. Okay, so I think that's pretty wrapped up. So need to find the end piece here in my mess of glue. And then all I'm going to do is take that top end piece, use my fork, and kind of just run it through the fork just so that extra glue comes off all the way to the end. So we've got a long piece of yarn, and we're going to stick that on our balloon. I would suggest starting at maybe the top and wrapping around, and then do it differently each time. It's gonna look really cool if you have yarn pieces sort of hanging everywhere. Okay, we've got it wrapped around. Now another tip, make sure at the end, you're kind of just making sure those end pieces are nice and secure. Okay, so there's one. Let's do another one. So I'm going to stick that in my glue here, mix it all around, and then I'm going to stick that on the yarn ball. So I'm going to do that until all my pieces are done. Or again, if you think you want to add a few more, you can do that too. So this needs to dry for at least 24 hours, just so the glue is entirely dry and it's not going to stick to your hands when you go back to get it the next day. So then it's going to look something like this. So here's my ornament. the balloon is still in there. We want that to come out, so it's just going to look like the yarn ornament. So to do that, before you actually snip it to let the air out, we want to kind of press in on the sides of the balloon just to make sure it's not attached to the yarn. You could also maybe use a fork to reach into some of those narrower spots. So you're going to press in all of those extra pieces. And it might take you a few minutes too. I've still got a little bit left on mine to do. Once that's done, you can carefully sort of snip at the very top of your balloon, and then we're gonna gently pull it out from the yarn. And again, it might take a few tries. Okay. So I've got most of mine out here. I'm gonna try again to get a bit more of it out later too. So there is my yarn wrapped Christmas ornament. Now what I learned was I think I made my balloon a little bit too big when I was doing it. That's why it looks a little bit not perfectly circular. There's a lot of glue on it, so when it dried, it kind of hung down a little bit too heavy. So that's why when I did this one, I made the ball only about this big. I think that'll help it a lot. So last thing we need to do is take a piece of yarn that doesn't have glue on it. So I've got one here. And I'm going to stick it through one of the openings of my Christmas ornament. And tie a little knot. So we can now stick this on the tree. We hope you enjoyed watching our tutorial on how to make a yarn wrapped Christmas ornament, and we hope you enjoy making yours at home too. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.